Breaking news. They're coming for the kids. But we're coming for them! Sisters broken badges flashing in the night. Knock down doors, no warrant, no right. Take the children, tear the families apart. Hide behind protection while you rip out the heart. Files fabricated, lies on the stand. Judges in their pocket, money changing hands. Parents screaming, cameras never show. The real abuse happens when the CPS shows. Scott ever standing, fighting Tennessee DCS. For separation, they tore the family from his chest. Placed on a registry, no charges, no crime. Blount County DCS crossing every line. Evers versus the state, lawsuit in federal court. Exposing the corruption, tearing that system apart. Years of battle, justice delayed, but not denied. A father's resolve with truth on his side. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fail. We fight for the families, we fight for the free. CPS, your time is over. You'll see. Another case buried, another life destroyed. Numbers manipulated, stories over deployed. They call it protection, we call it abduction. State-sponsored kidnapping, legal corruption. Parents labeled unfit for daring to speak. Question the system and they label you weak. We document every raid, every lie, every theft. The resistance is growing, no more silent regret. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fade. We fight for the families, we fight for the free. CPS, your time is over. You'll see. You took the innocent. You destroyed the home. Now the people are waking. And we're coming for your throne. No more silence. No more fear. The revolution starts right here. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every single day. Got it for CPS. Your kingdom's gonna break for every parent, for every child set free. CPS, we're gunning for thee. This is the podcast, Gunning for CPS, hosted by Scott Evers. Relentless in his fight, Evers versus Tennessee DCS. A father who refuses to yield, exposing every injustice, demanding accountability, reclaiming what was taken. The battle continues. Stay vigilant. The truth is our weapon.
This is the reckoning. Blount County CPS.
Your time has come!
Evers rising, shadow in the fight. Blount County CPS stealing children in the night. No warrant, no warning, they crossed every line, took his child away, tried to bury the crime.
Fabricated files, twisted every truth, placed them on a registry with no proof.
Federal court now watching every move they make.
The system is shaken, the foundation starts to break.
No more hiding, no more lies. The truth is
Coming here, the battle cry. This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers bringing the pain. Blount County CPS. Your empire's in flames. The reckoning. Justice finally calls your name. For every family broken, for every child torn away. The reckoning is here. There's hell to pay.
there's hell to pay.
Evers versus Blount lawsuit cutting deep, exposing corruption secrets they can't keep. Years of separation, heart ripped from his chest, yet he stands unbreakable, refusing to rest. No charges filed, but they branded him a threat. Now the court is watching, collecting their debt. Blount County, BC, yes, your days are numbered fast. The father's fight is real, this reckoning will last.
No more hiding, no more lies. The truth is coming.
Hear the battle cry. This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers bringing the pain. Blount County CPS. Your empire's in flames. The reckoning. Justice finally calls your name. For every family broken, for every child torn away. The reckoning is here. There's hell to pay.
There's hell to pay. You came for the innocent. You destroyed the home. Now the reckoning rises, and you stand alone.
No mercy. No escape. The people are This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers leads the fight. Blount County CPS vanishing from sight. The reckoning. Walls are crashing down tonight. For every parent watching, for every stolen child. The reckoning is here, and we're running wild.
Gunner Evers, still standing strong. Blount County CPS. The reckoning has only just begun. Truth is the weapon.
Justice will be gone.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gonna be biblical.
Nope, we've got a technical error. Looks like it's pissing me off today. Hey guys, who are we going to piss off today? This is your host, Gunner, with Gunning for CPS. Welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. Glad you could join us this week, where we expose everything that's out there. When we'll go over that. I see in the back room we're looking for the thing here. Let me see. Now, this is one question that's being brought up too. A lot of people, case number, what's your case number? What's your case number? There's two, actually, because there's one in 2025, it's still alive, and then there's a filing in 2026. And what a lot of people don't understand, well, what happened with that? Well, the 2025 case, jumping right into things, was still alive, but there was interference. In other words, we had retaliation. So the court, by keeping the 2025 filings alive, justifies the fact of, yes, there was retaliation. That people are saying, wait a minute, but they just stripped a bunch of stuff and dismissed it and then sifted your case and went through. Yes, they trimmed it down, both the 25 and, well, like we explained before in a previous episode of the 2026, it was due to the fact that, I had filed things early. That was the 2026. Other than that, our constitutional question is well and alive. The case is well and alive. It has not been completely dismissed or anything. It's been shaved, which is normal. Hey, we're going to dismiss this count. We're going to allow this through, but we're not going to allow that through. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. Like I said, past couple of weeks, we've got a few things that we have to correct. Unfortunately, due to my health, I had to, go back in to the hospital this past week. And that was kind of rough. And they says, well, Gunnar, what's going on? Well, I had another gout attack because I have congestive heart failure. We were checking, which I went in for a couple of days to where they were checking for a PE. If you don't know what a PE, it's a pleural infusion. It's a blood clot. We were checking. Now I have a clear artery. So everybody says, well, you're a big guy, you caused it. It's probably from eating and this and that. No, my congestive heart failure was like a genetic defect is basically what it's coming down to. Why? Because I have no plaque. I have no blockages. I mean, I am clean as a whistle. It's like, what happened? Well, what a lot of people don't know is I was exposed to something really, really bad when I was younger, and I almost died, or not younger, but a few years ago in my trades. So I was exposed to something to where I got something where they had to treat me with what's called the medicine, and it's really strong medicine. It's like one of those things of you're supposed to die with this stuff, where they tried to kill me. And this stuff was supposed to kill me, but they got to it just in time with some of it. But the side effects are very damning to your body. And it was the medicine they gave me was for flesh-eating disease. So my body on the inside was just turned on. But that's what they treated me with for over a week, bag after bag after bag. Well, that's where my heart started to give and cause issues because of that. That's a reaction to the medication for some people. But once again, it didn't kill me. I survived it. But it had its side effects, which I had to deal with. And then you add stress on top of the other things and all the other things that go with congestive heart failure. Because once again, in other words, it wasn't what triggered. There was something else that was in here. But once again, where I got it from, a lot of people have asked, we still don't know to this day. I was exposed to something that was supposed to kill me. And, it's things that, somebody did try to kill me some way or another. They thought it was because of this. But basically, I was exposed to something that had flesh-eating disease. It was the only thing that would kill it, the medicine. So it saved my life, but it did damage to my heart. So I hope that further explains. So I have to still deal with this today. So I had to go into the hospital, get checked out, but I was also able to get put on a new medication. And change a lot of my medications because, like I said, you guys say, well, I'm fully disabled. Yes, now the federal government recognizes it. Yes, I am, according to the United States government, I am considered 100% fully disabled. All my paperwork's through. It's all gone in, been approved. So now it's opened doors to all sorts of new medicines, all their things that we can do, even talking to my the cardiothoracic surgeons and some of the other people, even having a couple ideas that I've run past them of saying, hey, we haven't done that yet or experimented with it. Well, maybe we'll do that, but let's get your heart good. So now they've put me on some new medications that's supposed to heal the heart. They've had nothing but good reviews out of this particular medication. Like I said, sometimes, big pharma gets some things right. And this is one of those things, like I said, that they put me on that several others have done the same. Hey, they've come back from 20% and gone to 70% of their heart, and then continue to strengthen this. I mean, this is a really good breakthrough in they do have good breakthroughs in medicines, and we do, big pharma does do good with surgery, and things of the internals a lot. But a lot of the other things that we say with the holistics and stuff like that is maintenance. is what those are meant for, so you don't get in these bad situations. But unfortunately, it was unforeseeable. But I had to check in for a med change. So this takes strict supervision, especially when it comes to your heart. You just don't stop a medication and do one with heart failure being as bad as I am. And as they say, it's a very severe and serious case. But I'm back here fighting, for you guys, and to give you that information, to give you that knowledge. Why? Because it's important. We're in a good place. We're in a place that we're looking at more strategy. We're looking at more of this. We've covered this in past shows. I've got things. If you guys are on TikTok right now, we can't always see your comments. This is why some of them, they connect to broadcast, but we don't get a lot of comments that we see here on the show. You'll see on the show. You have to excuse me, a little dry. Eric Padilla's there. Thanks for joining us here on YouTube. We can see those really clear. YouTube comes in pretty good. Facebook's a little, but we don't hardly see anything. I mean, I can't even go back and look at some of the stuff when I'm on TikTok and some of the others, but they don't allow you to interact. Like I said, it's just weird. And platforms, how they overlap and how they work together. That's, something that they've been doing for a long time. But I know a lot of TikTok creators that they have a platform they use, and it comes in and they'll do short videos. This is why they do editing. Our stuff is 100% live. So that's completely different on how that works. And of course, they have their own live platform that you can do this, and that. But once again, we go for the idea is to get the word out as many platforms as we can, give as many options as we can to reach across the United States and the entire world. Understand, this is an international broadcast. So this isn't just the USA, because other countries, Canada, England, New Zealand, Australia, I mean, I can go on and on, are watching the show, figuring who gets to figure out first how to tear down this international or, national, for a lot of us, trafficking organization by our own governments. So America's looking over, everybody's looking to America. England's doing some big things, but I mean, it's getting crazy. But let's cover something that the reason they kept you ignorant of constitutional is nothing. If you don't know it's unconstitutional, they can get away with it because you don't know any better. You don't know it's wrong. You figure it's right. This is why CPS has grown into what it is so many assume they're there to protect the children. Well, they wouldn't take your children if something was, if something was wrong, wasn't wrong, or there was something here, and here. That's the misnomer. That is the fog. That is the false, the smoke screen, basically. They're portraying themselves as doing something that they're not. But when you get into the constitutionality of what they do, how they do it, even in the family court system, and we've dug deep into this, and we're going even deeper because we want full exposure on how this system is unconstitutional in every basis, way, or even how it's done, or functionality, or put together, or the way it's structured, because it's impossible. And this is being constitutional. Now, I know if a lot of you guys have looked at, if you're following the case, this and that, yes, there's been a certain section where they've dismissed some certain things, but they did it under judicial immunity. Now, what is that going to trigger for us? That means we are currently working on another constitutional question that challenges the very thought of judicial immunity in this country. And yes, we believe we have enough to tear it down. Why? There is no law. It was never done by Congress. And that's a separation of powers. Well, where did this thing for judicial immunity come out? A judge. Well, a judge can't rule in something that they can be benefited from. Of course, he's going to go for judicial immunity. That means all the judges, well, here's the other problem. ALJs are not true judges. So it's not going to apply to the state. You're going to say, whoa, Gunnar, you can't say that because, oh no, we did a history research on this. We dug deep. Not till the 1970s did they rename themselves. And they were called Justice of the Peace, where now they've come up with a new fancy word, administrative law judge. Well, these administrative law judges, if you look at it in the state, do not answer to the president. They answer to the governor of every state, which automatically disqualifies them as being a judge. or wearing that title as the Constitution. You've been shammed. It's been a shell game. Because, and here's the thing, a retired Wisconsin judge of the United States Supreme Court has addressed this recently, how administrative law judges are not truly judges under the Constitution, and goes into it. Go look up his speech. It's not hard to find. Just Google it. It's on YouTube. We've played it. I think we shared it on our Facebook page too. These are not real judges. They are endowing themselves with powers in imitating a federal judge. Hey, I can do this. Hey, I can do that. Administrative law judge, Article 1. So these family law judges, what are they doing? Well, I'm going to put out a warrant. Okay, can't do that. Why? You got to have, this stuff. Hey, I'm going to give permission. I'm going to write a court order giving entry for CPS in your house. You don't have the power or jurisdiction to give those orders. Hey, I'm going to have the power to turn around and seize or put out for something for the kids. And the kids where are the kids at? They're secure in the home. So they come in the home and they take the kids. Well, we had a court order. That court order doesn't cover. That means if you catch me out in public, bitch, not on my Fourth Amendment protected home. Why? Because the Fourth Amendment is a lot more powerful than that court order. And you don't have the jurisdiction to enter or write anything that says come into my house. And the thing is, they know it. That's why they don't come after you. Joe, you're going to get arrested. Why? Challenge me. Because as soon as we take it to the Supreme Court, do you know who they're agreeing with? Because I'm right. And as they say, as where I'm hearing, I'm not hearing the words, because they won't be able to say, well, we can't say he's right. But with the words, the term that they use, and I know Darren's in the back room and he's going to get a giggle shit out of this, is, well, you know what? He's not wrong. But that's how they look at it to beat it up. So now you're looking at a charade that the state courts have put a sham on the American people to confuse them with words. And this goes all the way even back to legalese. But we've done a complete research and everything else on it. They are not the same, nor are they endowed with the same powers. Matter of fact, they went along with it, the federal government, some of their buddies that went through this, and we'll call you administrative law judges. Well, if you're administrative, you're supposed to settle matters between this party and this party. This is internal. This is something you have jurisdiction over. But at the same time, I'm not another agency, another one of your agencies that you could administer that court over. Why? I'm not an institution. I'm not a business. And once again, that's completely different. A government can come up with you such as a code, or something like that in your state or something and say, hey, there's a code violation, or we got a problem with this, and you're not fixing it, or so on and so forth. Then we go to it. Hey, I don't agree with it. Let's go before an administrative law judge and have this conversation in both sides. And this is what, a lot of SCOTUS was talking about, these percentages that, there was a video that went around about the percentages of administrative law judges and why they win so many of their hearings. Like 90%. But as soon as they were in a real court system, a federal court system, that number dropped dramatically. I mean, huge. And you guys can go search these things. I encourage you to do these things. This is one of the things we want you to educate yourself, and we're pointing you in the right direction of go with your own eyes and watch for yourself these particular things. And, we've got a couple of those videos, and I usually share them on my Facebook page, or I do something on TikTok, and TikTok's been a little bit more demanding. I do apologize once again to the Facebook crew that watch this, that, hey guys, I'm doing the best I can. I'm one person, plus I'm dealing with my health, plus I'm dealing with the case, plus trying to steer people in the right direction that didn't even know about the reckoning and the return to the Constitution and what we're about. We're not about anything. We just want to be constitutional. That's all we're asking for this country to do and for this court to do, is line this up constitutionally, and whether or not this is right or wrong. And we've got some serious questions in looking, and there's several conversations back and forth where they'll pick part of this, but they forget part of this, and they leave it out for a reason, especially when they get some of these rulings, because they don't do their full due diligence. If you dig just a little bit deeper, that ruling would have changed dramatically. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand, that, we have to go through here. But, here's a couple cute videos. Let's share this one here.
Fathers did not plan for 535 politicians to rule the American people. They planned for 535 representatives to answer to the American people. What we have today is the exact opposite of their vision. The founding fathers did not plan for 535 politicians to rule the American people. They planned for 535 representatives to answer to the American people.
I mean, look at that right there. They didn't plan for us to have other people that they're ruling over us. They're supposed to be representing us. And when we're stealing our children and going against our values and against our homes and our religious beliefs and everything else there, they're no longer representing us. They're representing, elitist or this group or that group or whoever pays them extra. And that's where we've gotten so disconnected. You can't do that. You can't put the needs of corporations and other things above the American people because of the Constitution. There's no other argument over it. Your first job is to protect the people, not make a damn dollar. You're there to serve, not be served, which is what when half of this lobbying and everything else come out, you're being served. You see their kickbacks and they're all getting caught now. You got this money from this. You did this over here. You exceed bribes over here. You've got China over here. And now they're finding out half of this stuff, with the AI centers, they were trying to slide those in hardcore and fast and sneak by everything. But one of the rules when you build for the U.S. government, so you don't get charged with treason, is all of those main infrastructure things, all those parts must be manufactured in the United States. And what did they find out? Somebody blew the whistle that shut down all the AI centers. You can't build them. Why? The parts come from China and Taiwan and this and this and this. Those have to all be American-made stuff per the contract of anybody that does stuff. And if you've ever worked a government contract, this is why they're specific of, well, why do I have to use this particular vendor over this vendor? Because that vendor produces this product that's made in America that is a requirement supporting American jobs, go figure. That's part of the contract with the federal. I mean, Darren, jump in here anytime you think about that. I mean, that this was missed for these AI centers and everything else, that we're just going to throw these foreign products in there that allows them a backdoor because they have to service it. They have to support their equipment and or their hardware and or their software. It's now a conflict of interest. You can't put these things in. Why? Are they all American made? And somebody went that deep. They went the extra step besides the Fourth Amendment issue, regardless of the Fourth Amendment issue, the flock cameras are the same. They're finding out the same thing. Well, it's an American-made company. Yeah, but are the chips and everything else made here in America? That's the other requirement. It has to be fully an American-made product. And that's where all of a sudden, all the flock camera people, oh, wait a minute. And then we're finding out through a lot of other stories on the backside when they're digging that even the police departments and the sheriff's office that are putting this stuff in are generally categorizing this stuff to get this money to pay for these license plate readers, which they aren't just license plate readers. Oh, they have upgrades. So now we pay for the upgrades, which does what? Has this and is connected to AI and it has a big microphone on it and this. Well, what does it do? Well, then that encourages beyond why, because it has no boundary to shut it off. It only listens to the public areas. You're infringing all the time on people's Fourth Amendment curtilage. If you're monitoring it, you can't do that. Once again, Fourth Amendment, privacy. This is where humans need to act, and we have to stop technology at a certain point of saying, you just can't do that. Well, it would affect us. Yeah, but at the same time, what are they using it for? They're caught again. Now you've got all these law enforcement officers using it to track and hunt people, and let alone do other things and rob people. And they're finding all this out. Oh, no, they're not accessing it for just what they said they were. Look, they're abusing it. And it's a brand new technology. And here we go again. Too much power. Leave us the hell alone. We're not going to be policed. This is not China. And wouldn't you know it, most of those things with China. Here's the other thing. We were going through, and there was something here local with a national company, and well, we can't control who their shareholders are. Well, listen, man, yeah, well, you can with a business. If you do business with somebody that's our enemy, that's called aiding and abetting the enemy. There's a whole constitutional thing on that. You do business with our enemies, You're aiding and abetting the enemy. I mean, the Constitution's clear. You can't do that. And so if you got somebody that wants that money, you can produce it here and export it to other people's shit in other countries that don't have that issue. But here in America, you can't do that. This has been our biggest thing that we've raised is that if you're not constitutional, and trust me, there's ways they worm around things, but we got people that need to look at the big picture saying, wow, we can assemble things to do this, and it's all for export, but we can't use it here. Why? Because it has these things in it. Well, people are getting lazy and they're looking for a quick buck. Well, let me form this business and we can do this, this, and that. Look, I've sold it to other countries. That's why we're international. Why can't we have it here in America? The Constitution. Now, going back to a couple other things, that's just one of the things, our country wasn't designed to do that. Look at the history. So there's one. Now, here's the scary part that if you don't believe me that they're trying to take us over in a lot of aspects is I want you to look at this. I had this conversation with several veterans, and this is going to blow your mind. And this deals with what they do. In other words, what our soldiers do when they go into other countries and they interact with civilians, not militants, that our own military is better trained for this than our actual police force. Watch this video. It'll blow your mind.
Trust the people policing our streets anymore because I know what it takes to carry a firearm into a combat zone versus what it takes to carry one in a neighborhood. And the difference is honestly terrifying. So the government just knocked down what it takes to be an ICE deportation officer to 42 days of training. Average police academy is 21 weeks. Now let's jump into the military, okay? Infantryman, 22 weeks. Army Ranger, 1 year. Navy SEAL, 18 months. And a Green Beret, 2 years. It's the same country, but the standards are wildly different. And people are going to say, what about SWAT? And I get you. SWAT requires a 3-year on patrol and about 140 hours of selection. The fail rate is not tracked nationally. Meanwhile, Ranger attrition is 51%, Green Beret 75%, and if you want to be a Navy SEAL, the attrition rate is 80%. The military aggressively weeds out the weak, but in domestic law enforcement, not so much. And when cops do train, what are they training on? 71 hours of firearm training, 21 hours of de-escalation. They have 3.4 more times time learning a weapon and how to pull that trigger than they do how to talk somebody down. That's not an opinion. That's the Bureau of Justice Statistics. Here's the mic drop, though. In a war zone, special operation operators, under strict rules of engagement, if they accidentally had a negligent discharge, try getting charged under Article 134 of the UCMJ, confinement, loss of pay, and their career is done. Accidentally killed the wrong person, you're going to Leavenworth. Meanwhile, the police officers in ICE operate under a quantified immunity. Their standards did the officer feel threatened, negligent discharge, paid leave. You can't even sue them. We hold 19-year-old kids in the desert to a higher standard of trigger discipline than we do 40-year-old federal agents in our own backyard. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly how. Do you know why I don't?
Wow. Just wow. Our soldiers are disciplined greater for foreign agents than they are for American citizens. I want you, and this is why it confuses a lot of the military. What the hell is this? What this is not. People in other countries, we give more rights to other people and people in other countries than we do here policing this. Why? Because they've weaponized the police farther than the military. But once again, you've got rules. And, I guess the rules of engagement that they've come to realize is that when American citizens know they have to serve, there are no rules of engagement if they were to attack the American people and they go back and forth, which is why they've weaponized them so much. Trigger discipline, less shootings. You want to talk about this and that? Look at the time that he talked about in training. Discipline here, discipline here, discipline here. Not there. As he said, it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. destroy the country from within, while the people that protect us that turn around and say, dude, what are you doing? What are you thinking of this and that? And this is why you see so many of these videos of people so improperly trained that they grab or they're touching their weapon constantly, or there's this or there's that. The American people are that big of a threat. You're that scared of the public, then you shouldn't be serving. I mean, you guys have seen a lot of videos where people say that, man, if you're that scared, then you need to quit your job. You don't belong acting in here in the public, let alone you escalated things. You draw that weapon, it's a whole different thing. And if you draw that weapon for not a good reason and not probable cause, one, your immunity's gone. Two, you've turned this into a gunfight legally. Because as soon as you drew the weapon, you broke the law, you've lost your job, you've lost your immunity, all those ways, because you have violated things. There was no reason for that. Now you are a plausible threat to my life for no probable cause. And I've seen them do this stuff, and you have too, on videos for a traffic stop. Coming up, whoa, 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 what the hell? You got a gun pointed to my head, and what the hell have I done? I haven't broken any laws. You haven't articulated things. I'm not in the midst of a crime. I'm here being pulled over for a traffic violation. This is crazy. Or people, well, now you're impeding an investigation. I have a right not to fucking impede or give you shit. Well, now you're obstructing. That's not obstructing, dumbass. There's a constitutional right. Or did you forget that? Once again, abuse of power. This is something they go through, that you're here to serve and keep peace. We're here. You're at home. You're not in a war zone. And some of these people, maybe they just didn't get it out of their system, or could go into the military for whatever reason, and want to act like they're the military here at home. But we ain't playing G.I. Joe, Jack. This is home. I think that's one of the things. I started watching a new show called Homestead. Yeah, it's on the Angel Network when it has a thing, but it poses a really big question of, what does military do on American soil? It's different. The rules of engagement are different. This is our people. What do we do? How does this work? Can you run it like that? No. It brings up a very plausible question with some opinions and some different ways of doing things, to where even it shows in the first episode, some nut job from the state coming in, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. No, well, it doesn't matter. It's for the greater good. Well, constitutional rights say you can kiss my ass. I can tell you no. That's called theft. Fourth Amendment violation. You can't seize personal shit for any reason. It's mine. They failed. This is based off success. People that planned. And the people don't want to hear that. You failed, and it's somebody else's problem. It's not. And that's where it goes down to. You should have done better. Once again, that's the same thing of saying, well, and that's some of the judges and some of the other people that are doing this shit. Well, I was just doing my job. Ignorance of the law does not negate your accountability for breaking those laws. You still have to pay, whether you knew you were breaking a law or not. And that goes for judges, magistrates, for police officers, for lawyers. It doesn't matter. Doctors, the whole 9 yards. And if you know your rights, and you know what's right and what's wrong, and you hold people to that standard, sometimes it costs people their job. But at the same time, that was bad training. You should never do these things. And I've ran into that, in law. I've ran into it in medical. Well, we're going to do this, and this is it. Well, your policy can't be. Why? Because of this. It's cause and effect. And number two, you're not a doctor. Even when they went through the stuff with this, my disability, from my understanding, the judge got madder than hell. It's like, how the hell did you not approve him? And why did you drag it? This is cruel. Do you know what this man's going through? Literally, you're trying to kill him off, is basically what the judge was saying. How could you deny that? I was on a transplant list, and because of Social Security disability not doing their job, if you're that damn bad, no, we won't do it. But if you get one, and this is where they get people on these transplant. Oh no, well, you won't get disability, this and that, or you won't get, all these other things. But if you come up with the money to take and turn around and do it yourself, then we'll give it to you. That's not what the system was designed to do, but we'll give it to all sorts of how many people they just kicked off Social Security, disability, and welfare, and this and that. I'm just saying you don't meet the requirements. They were giving it to people that weren't even qualified. My money that I could have used, or those things I have, taken care of or bought into that particular system by paying my wages and paying into a insurance program through Social Security, which is part of it. Regardless of what it was, the amounts or anything else, some get more, some get, it just depends. It's there as a fallout, procedure is the way it was designed. If you get into a pinch where this happens, they say they will step up. And we've even got programs to where even children that are completely disabled and grow up that way, are born with a birth defect, we're allowed to help them. It's part of our generosity, but it's not required. Technically, for the federal government to get into social programs, for any government to get in social programs in this country, is technically illegal. They're not supposed to have them. It's supposed to be you look out for you and you're on your own. And if you do little community-based things to help each other, well, that's fine. But when the government stepped over on that line of, well, we need to do something, they took it on as, under whatever flag that they were. Well, it's a national security issue. It's to the safety and the best interest of our country. They've sold us so much shit. But once again, the idea wasn't to get off it. Matter of fact, there was people turning around and like, well, this person over here works all the time and does this, and that. But, by the time we do that, we're just paying for our own thing. And money goes in, money goes out. It's just like, well, yeah, they want you dependent so they can have control. That's why they put so much stuff out of price range, or, make everything the way it is. It keeps you a slave to the system. And there are certain things you're going to have to learn that this is not, they've also messed with the American people to turn around that this is not a necessity. This is a want. Oh no, well, everybody, maybe they can afford it and you don't live in that classification and there's nothing wrong with it, which is why we had such a credit problem in this country. We'll extend credit to people we know that are going to fail to destroy them, but make you even look worse. Then it affects your job and everything. Oh, you're bad with money. You're bad. You never fail. But once again, you failed to educate. This has been the biggest problem in this country is we've been more worried about politics than true education on things that actually matter. Well, we'll teach you about this or we'll teach you about that, but we're not going to do this. Now, listen, and here's the biggest scam. Here, watch this video. And this will tell you about administrative law judges and a little history. Watch this one. This will blow your mind.
You see the robe, but you do not see the truth. I appear as a judge, but in reality, I am an administrator. My main responsibility is to protect the prosecutor from embezzlement and tax evasion. I worked for a defunct company business and used to get unsuspecting authorized representatives to switch roles from executor beneficiary to trustees in order to enrich ourselves from your estate. Suckers.
It's a scam. It's about getting into your money. Why? Because if you try to get ahead and you try to do anything and you're doing this and all of a sudden CPS comes in and there's no abuse, there's no criminal charges. Those are criminal codes that they use. You can't use a criminal code in a civil court. Why? You'd have to do this over here. Well, the state says we can do it. Not according to the Constitution. Look at all your paperwork they went in there when they said they accused you of abuse, neglect, and everything else. Look at your state code. I'll bet you anything it's a criminal code. You realize you can't use a criminal code without it being justified, being on the record, even in civil court? You have to have a criminal conviction because now you're assuming you're guilty until proven innocent by using that code, and there's been no hearing. No, I'm innocent until proven guilty. I've never been convicted of that once again. So now you're falsifying. There's the scam. There's the scam that a lot of people were picking up on it within their federal filings, and then others were, of saying, I was never convicted of this. Well, you just were. That's a criminal code. I've never been to criminal court. You put the cart before the horse. on some of those things. When it comes to government people, I can prove that, and then it can lead into a criminal. Why? Because I'm stacked against the system. It's not personal. When it comes to the government coming after you, there's a different set of rules versus a person coming after a person. It's a whole different set of rules, even in civil court. The state can't come after you. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. That power was reserved for the federal government under the 10th Amendment. It's clear. State cannot assume any of those powers or things that are delegated to the federal government. It says it right in there. Well, if that's true, which is our constitutional question that went before, if that's true, then Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2 says you can't have those hearings in your courts. Pretty cut and dry, and there's no other way around it. It's never been ratified. It's never changed. It's using common sense, which I wish a lot of these people need to go back and read Thomas Paine's Common Sense book. I mean, really. And where we get it doesn't matter. Where did it come from? And I've had this conversation with other people. The chicken or the egg, which came first? Common law, common sense law. You can't do that. But then you've had people, where there's a twofold test to it, and they'll say, well, it didn't mean this, or they'll say, well, it meant this, but you don't know there's a twofold test. Yeah, it meant this over here, but it also means this over here, but then you have to have harmony. And anything that is not in harmony with the Constitution and is state or federal government, whether it's a policy, procedure, statute, or code, it is null and void. It says it right in the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Overrides it all. That's why it's called the law of the land. If it doesn't it cannot be. It's just that simple. Not overcomplicated. Well, Your Honor, with this, you just can't do it. Part of no, don't you understand, stupid? Come on. And you're the one over, and this is the problem. We've elected these educated idiots. They don't even know the Constitution to begin with. They couldn't even pass a basic constitutional test. But let me tell you something. There is somebody in Congress, the first time in my lifetime I've ever heard, and I've watched off and on through decades. First person I've ever seen that sits in Congress, that means the House or the Senate, is this lady. This is what every single one of these representatives, either senators or House of Representatives or anything else, should all be going to this very, very next thing. Is watch this video, and she's got it right. This is what they should be representing your state, as a person just like this. This is the most competent person to represent you, and hats off to where she's from and the state she represents. You guys did a hell of a job sending her to Congress. Watch this.
Understand what ALJs, administrative law judges, and administrative law courts actually do in this system. If you want to talk about unconstitutionality, Article 3 establishes an independent judiciary to protect citizens from loss of life, liberty, and property without due process.
Wait a minute. I'm going to rewind this and I'm going to play this again. Did you hear what she said? Article 3 of the Constitution. She just quoted exactly what we just filed. I want you to hear this. This is what we're talking about. So if you're not understanding what's going on or anything else, she is explaining Article 3, what does this stuff exactly the way we filed. She is confirming what we filed to be true as we know it. And these kids are supposed to come home with this filing and with this constitutional question. No questions asked, because it's right here. And I'm gonna play this again. I'm gonna restart this, and I want you to listen really, really good, because she hit it right on the head right there. Boom.
If you want to talk about unconstitutionality, Article 3 establishes an independent judiciary to protect citizens from loss of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. Over the last 50 years or so, a variety of federal agencies have created their own court systems, led by administrative law judges. It would come as no surprise to no one that agencies enjoy outsized success in proceedings before these ALJs. After all, they're wearing the same jerseys. They're on the same team. In Article 3 court says, provided by the Constitution, the SEC only wins about 58% of its cases. And between fiscal year 2011 and 2014, the SEC, however, won an average of 90% of its cases. And the SEC only wins about 58% of its cases. And between
you guys remember we talked about that earlier, several years ago, about that ruling on SEC versus Jarsky? That's what they're talking that shift about, that was corrected because they said SEC versus Jarsky was overturned because of stuff like that was happening, and they were finding out. So that's why they reversed the decision. Pay attention. We've covered this, and we covered it early, and now other people are putting it together, and we're showing you this because it gives you better or an alternative explanation that maybe we didn't explain earlier, but maybe you'll get it this way.
Fiscal year 2011 and 2014,
follow the money.
The SEC, however, won an average of 90% of its cases in front of ALJs. The FTC, who you went up against, wins not over 90% of its cases before its own ALJs. Yet Lena Khan, who was the head of the FTC under the last administration, lost almost every single case she ever brought before an Article 3 case, or an Article 3 court. When Exxon was forced into the FTC Administrative Law Court, or ALC, proceedings, were you provided with the same protections and rights you would expect in an Article 3 court, such as due process, the right to a trial by jury, that sort of thing?
Absolutely not. It was a foregone conclusion. Frankly, it was described to me by my attorneys as hopeless. There was a 0% chance over the previous 20 years of getting a fair trial. And even once we came out, if it went to appeal, the appellate process would be only reviewing the FTC's version of events. They get to write the entire record, and you never get a day in court. Maybe you get an appellate review to see if they made an error in the law, but we would never have gotten a chance for an independent arbiter to hear our claims.
I would think that the people on the other side and Mr. Vladek would be concerned about the violation of constitutional rights that you just described, but apparently they're more concerned about protecting the unelected bureaucrats and their ability to send millions of dollars to things that we don't want to pay for, such as trans comic books for people in Peru. The FTC enjoys over 90% success rate in proceedings before the ALJs, as we just talked about. And what I understand is that you were forced to spend $20 million defending yourself in these FTC proceedings. Having been an administrative law attorney for many years, I describe this as the process is the punishment. Would you agree?
The process was a heck of a lot of punishment. However, it was nowhere near what was being threatened. For a $13 million acquisition, the government was basically looking to seize $1 billion worth of intellectual property, as well as half our customers, and an unlimited liability. So the process was terrible, but we had to go through it because the alternative was even worse.
As you likely know, in this Congress, I have introduced the Seventh Amendment Restoration Act, which provides Americans with the right to remove their cases before an ALJ to an Article 3 district court. Do you think that that is something that would have helped you in pushing back and fighting back against the FTC in these horrific proceedings?
I have to say that that proposal is beautiful in its simplicity. And I think it actually would fit what we've all talked about, the system of checks and balances functioning properly, that an American should be able to say, my goodness, if I have the government coming after me, may I please have an independent judge where I can plead my case and have a chance of prevailing.
Well, there you go, guys. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And I think a lot that you guys do, and I appreciate you guys so much that you don't understand as we move forward with this reckoning, what we're doing, the support you guys give on TikTok, Facebook, other platforms, this, that, and people waking up, reading it for themselves, saying the same thing. Gunnar, with the constitutional question, you're not wrong. And if I'm not wrong, that means all of this was wrong for over 3 decades, possibly 4 is what we're looking at. So when I say get out there, share, watch, educate, everybody's worried about their little, their cases or the things how do I this, man, you're getting the cart before the horse. Get your cases ready. Yes. But once we get this answer and everything else, it changes everything overnight. Yeah, they can try and appeal, but it stands. It says what it says. It means what it means. And we're right in line with SCOTUS. And that's where, and let me explain something to a lot of you guys too, because we've had some misunderstandings. And I don't think people really understand the federal court system as good as well, I'm going to the Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court is made up of the appellate court. Okay. You are going into federal division, not district, division court. Okay. It is the lower of the federal courts. There is a Supreme Court that has certain, in other words, it's it's the number one court. Like I said, it's made up mainly of the appellate court through there. But then they hear certain cases. You have to remember that those members of SCOTUS are all judges or all Supreme Court justices. So they hear cases not just when they get together with their black robes to make big decisions. They do hear cases throughout the year. And those are cases that they alone have jurisdiction. In other words, the Supreme Court. In other words, unless it was delegated to the Supreme Court to go to the division court, which now they've been locking us out of, like what he was talking about. Hey, how many people have filed cases and then been dismissed? Why? Over bullshit with judicial immunity, or this is done, or that. They have locked us out of the courts until you find a way around that and then fix that pathway again of saying, no. We're supposed to have access to the federal courts. That's what she was talking about. I need to invoke the 7th Amendment to where I can get it out of a state case and I can escalate it. But once again, you have to put that in your paperwork. If you have an open case, I want to escalate this due to extreme bias. Why? The state can't do the state. I need to be over in this court, and I want to do that, especially with I'm not a miserable, but we're finding out they never had jurisdiction. Why? This is supposed to be a Supreme Court case. So people, and you guys wonder, okay, let's explain some of the Captain America stuff, okay? If people come up, a lot of people come up, Gunnar, you're just like Captain America, because Captain America, by Stan Lee's design, was the spirit of America. And a lot of the things that, America, will take that beating, and we've done that through history, that, sit there and get a beat down to do this, to do that, and still come back, still stand up, still do the right thing. We're the sleeping giant. We're the, behind the blade of every grass. We're the unpredictable human spirit of being an American. And we were known for this. But the one thing that it wasn't about a person. And we're going to end the show on this, because this is what I want you guys to show in this next little clip. And we're going to end the show with it. And, once again, I'll come back and thank you guys at the end of it. But Captain America was those that wished that picked up the charge, the thing that was needed for the day, but the thing they didn't count on, they thought they were just facing, and the enemy thinks the same thing, which is what CPS, and this is what the reckoning is about. I may be out here doing this, and there's a lot of people, part of my team, that is on the front line helping doing this. And yeah, that's his thing. Well, you're acquainted. No, I'm not that. But I'll do what's needed as an American to lead that thing for the rest of the people. But what they don't understand is you guys. I'm waking the sleeping giant. I'm moving forward. I'll take the big punches. I'll take this. I'll beat me down. Let me go through this and that. That's fine. But then they come in because they're going to throw everything they have at me. And about the time that happens, that's when we, the people, wake up, and all the parents across of this reckoning of go through when the sound is called, you will be there to make your voices heard, to stand together of saying, no, we, the people, will not. And even with some of the things that may, they want to make the decision, the jury's still going to hear it. It's called jury nullification. Jury can overdo that. That's the power of the jury. We, the people, see it. This is what we want to wake them up to. It's not just me filing this. The constitutional question or questions that will be filed is on behalf of everybody. And when they're answered, it goes for everybody, all 50 states. So the constitutional questions must be answered before I even go to trial on my own personal case. because they have to have this perspective going in of how bad it is. And on top of it, the stuff I've revealed now, it'll get worse once we get into court because there's so much more. And people don't realize how bad this is. That's what this is meant to do. Blow the whistle on it. That's why it's a whistleblower case. And we've got to do some corrections. We have to correct the thing. We're not going to let stuff slide by. In other words, oh, well, you did this or that. We're going to call you out and make sure you're constitutional and you're of the right thing. Why? We'll file the right things to ask the right questions. That's not for you guys to say, hey, I want to do the same thing you're doing, Gunner, and copy the case and do this. You don't have to. That was the point of this. This is why this was not a class action lawsuit. Why? Too many heads in there. Well, this should be. Well, this should be. And then it gets into arguments and all that. That's why these lawyers pick these things up to sort through all the stuff, and why the court has said, if you got a class action, you got to have an attorney. Attorney's not going to touch this till after you win this question. Then they'll be all over it because they'll see the money. They'll be suing left and right. Hey, I'll take on you clients that got done wrong by CPS. I'll file because of that case. I'll do this and that. But regardless, when that decision comes out, it's going to make everything null and void. Well, what if my kids are adopted? What if they're TPR? Did they take them? Did CPS, when it started, did you have a case where CPS took your kid in a family court system and that's where it started, and you don't have a criminal conviction? Yes, those are all null and void now, is what we're shooting for in this decision, because that's what answering the constitutional question will be. If you never had jurisdiction, you can't issue an order. And what the fallout is after that, it's not my problem. Somebody else come up with solutions. I mean, this is America. Well, all you guys, I've heard that one too. Well, all you guys want to tear this stuff down, but you never have a solution. Once again, that's for the people to figure out, not me. This is not a totalitarian. I am not your king to figure it out. You're Americans. Figure the shit out yourself. But what you've got now can't work. It can't operate. Why? It's unconstitutional and it's illegal. And now we've got to hold all these people accountable. But this next clip, as we wrap it up, think of it this way. And somebody says, when I look at that movie, I look at you, Gunner, and say, here you are with your team fighting for all of us. Then they bring in their reinforcements. But then they forget about, well, we the people. Bottom line. Hope you enjoy. See you next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same place here. Spread the word. But we're going to close out with this, guys. Thanks again. Love on each other. Encourage each other. But there's hope. But we got to come together just like this. From CPS. There we are in court.
Captain Sam, can you hear me? On your left.
From the inner cities to the country, we the people awaken. Every color, every race come together as one. We the people.
Is that everyone? What, you wanted more? Assemble.
Have a great evening, guys. Love you. Stay strong. Don't give up the fight because we're about to win the war.
We came for the families. Other families are coming for them. This is the reckoning. Woke up to the knock, boots on the door, CPS stormtroopers, stealing kids like before. No warrant, no judge, just that twisted gun! Destroying homes, all in freedom's name! Mothers crying, fathers locked in chains, paperwork lies, bureaucratic stains, they traffic our children, lie behind a veil, but the truth is lies and the shit's gonna sail! This is the reckoning, gunning for CPS, exposing their corruption, bringing them to their knees. No more silence, no more fear, we the people rise in judgment day is here. Gunning for CPS, the hammer's coming down, from the streets to the courts, we're taking back this town. Reckoning, reckoning, feel the power in the sound. EPS better run, the Punishers return. Documents forged, rights stripped away, they profit off trauma, 9 turns today. But we got the tools, the app in our hand, the CPS Punisher across the land. Immersion built in, Palsy runs a crew, DG Enterprises coming straight for you. Stay calm, CPS is coming, read the page. You drum coming truth on every stage. No more kids in cages, no more broken homes. We're auditing the system, exposing every drone. From Maine to the heartland, the fire's been lit. This is for Nina, for every child they have.